Welcome to The Sacred We. This is the #1 podcast on sacred relating, where we use the medium of the relationship itself for your own awakening. This is for conscious couples who are so done with mediocre ways of relating, because deep down, relationship is supposed to be this area of thriving, that it's meant to invoke pleasure and satisfaction and then spill into all other areas of your life. All the most successful people in the world have realized this and have doubled down on their relationship, and it leads to a lot of prosperity and abundance. So this is the place where we help you do that. If that's you, you're in the right place. And if you are someone listening, we've had a lot of inquiries around our couples retreats, and yes, we have one coming up, but I want to share our most recent offers, which is these online masterclasses that are 90 minutes. Our first one was on Heard and Seen, which was a great success, and we have another one coming up. And we want to let you know about it. It's called Rupture and Repair. This has been the #1 struggle for so many couples we've supported over the years, is there's all these hurts and ouchies that happen, but they're not resolving, they're not repairing. So we're going to give you our proven practice and principles to help you rupture and repair properly so you can create safety between you and your partner. If that's of interest to you, July 20th, scroll down in the show notes, click the link, get your seat, and we hope to see you in there. Today, we're joined by an absolute powerhouse in the intimacy space, and her name is Allana Pratt. She is an Ivy League educated intimacy expert, global coach, and author of several books, including The One is Bullshit, Becoming the One is Brilliant and Beautiful. Allana's been featured on CBS, TLC, and Fox, and on over 850 podcasts. She has had a lot of conversations about intimacy. She has lived it, practiced it, devoted over 20 years of her life to help people dissolve shame and move into the practice of radical self-love. And that is the #1 thing that I felt from Allana. If you are out there in your relationship or single and you've been having a hard time loving self, this is the episode for you. She has had to navigate really difficult dynamics. 12-year custody battle with a partnership that didn't work out, a son who pushed her away. Just imagine the amount of work she's had to do, the support she's received to fully love who she is today. And it's really clear. It radiates from her in this episode, just so much joy. So my hope for you is you get exactly what you are meant to get from this episode and this journey of radical self-love. Now, let's get into it. Okay, Allana Pratt, so happy you're here. Thank you for joining us and for this delicious conversation.
Thank you for having me. I like that you say Allana Banana from Canada. That's normally what I have to say, so they say it right. Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just talking before this episode. Allana is in Santa Fe, but we were born in the same hospital in New Westminster, so that's cool. Something I really want to start with here is pulling on this piece that I think a lot of people can resonate with, is the difficulty that can come up when co-parenting, when a relationship isn't working out or does end, and how to really show up for that relational experience with love, with grace, in the best way possible, especially, for yourself, but for the kiddos. Like, how do you show up in that dance? I would love to hear your journey with this, because I know there was I think it was a 12, 13-year custody battle. Is that right?
Yeah. It was torture. Yeah. I had the best intentions when I fell in love with my son's father. It was right when my mom was dying of cancer in the same hospital that we were born in. And I was as conscious as I was at the time. And I really had a closed, terrified heart to lose. My mom was really my best friend. So I thought, a man and a baby's a plan. And I'd been married before, and the whole fairy tale bullshit Disney. Oh, can I swear? Sorry, I just did. Sorry. Yeah.
You swear away, yes.
Not a
This is
son, but here you can.
not rated for children.
Okay, good. So the first husband I was a dancer since I was a 5 years old. I lived in Japan. I was a professional dancer and model. I met the Wall Street expat, the multimillionaire, tall, dark, and handsome. I didn't even ask if I chose him. He chose me. And I had such low self-esteem that I thought no one else is ever going to choose me. And it was a 6-year relationship, but it really started to wake me up that, holy crap, I've got some daddy wounds here to deal with. But instead of, I sort of did surface work. But if this was a coin of the daddy wound, I did one side of it. I just shifted to the other. Badass bitch boss, gonna get married. Disneyland is stupid. What's this love thing? And a man and a baby's a plan, because mom was dying of cancer. And then she was gone. And I'm like, oh dear, what have I done? I've married somebody really angry, who quit his job the day our son was born to live off my mom's inheritance, and just wasn't the partner I was looking for. And in all respect, I didn't do my due diligence. I was just hurt, scared, devastated. And so, I'm all about doing the work and therapy and courses and all the rest of it. But it was pretty clear early on that he was not interested in doing the work. So, divorce number 2. And very committed to co-parenting. I'm a life coach. I'm getting help, all the things. But he took it so personally that I think revenge was his highest capacity with his soul's development at that time. And it turned into a 12, 13-year custody battle, in which time I really did the people pleaser PhD in people pleaser in court. Court was making me wrong for everything under the sun, an intimacy expert. You probably sleep with your clients, like really like nasty crap. But again, I do my work. So one day he did something, I won't even say what he did, so horrendous. I called him a lying, conniving fuckhead to my coach. And my coach instantly said, "And where are you, a lying, conniving fuckhead?" I said, "Oh no, I am holier than thou. I am a life coach. I do my work." And he goes, "Even his point of view." And I went, "Oh," I said I would marry him, and I divorced him. I broke my word to him. I've humiliated him publicly. According to his point of view, I can see that I'm a lying, conniving fuckhead, which did not condone his behavior, but something about the trigger dissolved. Something about me being a victim to his behavior dissolved, and I really started to grow up a lot more. However, the court battle didn't end until our son said, "I'm going to go live with dad. He was about 15, I think, at the time. Don't stop me. I know what I'm doing." And so every cell in my body wanted to see him for my legal and physical custody. But I also knew his dad is Jewish, and I understand, the bar mitzvah, or people I interview from Africa, the boys go off for a year into the bush. Like, this is a time, as much as I didn't want it, maybe it was good for him to be more with his dad than me. So we saw each other secretly for 2 years. And then COVID hit, and there was a 6.5-year span of no contact. I was blocked on all social media. I didn't hear a peep, a text, nothing. I had friends like stalk him to see, does he go to school? Where is he? I found out that he was still playing baseball. But those 6 years, talk about dark night of the soul. It's one thing when you're in action trying to show up and do the right thing and heal. It's a whole other thing when, is he alive? Like, I figured I'd probably feel it if he was dead, but I didn't know where he lived. And there was this part of me that was kind of like a combination of like a vagina kegel and a holding my breath. It was just like my body was like frozen. And I just was in service and contribution and taking care of my clients and attempting to date, but I wasn't a full woman. I did my best, but it was not until his birthday of this past year where I got 90 seconds. He had lost a baseball game, 17-1, and he called and said, "I think the universe is saying enough. I'm not going to be on your side unless you call your mother." And
Ooh.
hi, God, what? I burst into tears. I'm sure my energy was huge, kind of like a dam breaking loose. So he got off the phone pretty quickly and promptly blocked me again for another 3 months. Because when he called again on Mother's Day, he said, "Mom, your energy was so big. It was so intense. I couldn't take it." Goes, but happy Mother's Day. And so I was heading to California the next day for a teacher trainer thing. And I said, "Would it be okay if I rerouted my flight? Maybe we could have lunch." So I did. And my coaches were like, tone it down, sister. Like, contain your energy, have all your cries, do all your things so that you can just be chill. Just be a good listener. No advice, no coaching, no asking why. Just be receptivity itself. So it was a 2.5 hour lunch, and he just dumped all this information, and I listened, and he bought me ramen, and he walked me to my car, and he said, "Text me when you get to Mount Shasta." And I was on cloud 9, like we were back in touch. And then just a few weeks ago, I was going out to New York for some podcasts, and he's into sports. He's a lefty pitcher. He's 6'4", and he's also into
Big
basketball.
guy.
So he's like, "Mom, the Knicks are in the finals for the first time in like 53 years. Can I come to New York with you?" So I said, "Sure." And he came, and on night 1, no problem. But night 2, we had 4 days together. All of the, I'm going to call it parental alienation, that's like a term, but basically the reality he remembers, having lived mainly with his dad for the last 8 years, is very different than the reality I remembered.
Mhm.
And it hurt so bad to be blamed for everything.
Mhm.
I was crying in this park. I couldn't believe it. The next day we had breakfast, and I tried to be again a good listener and listen to his point of view, but then say, "And may I share my point of view?" He couldn't hear any of it. "That's what dad said you'd say."
Uh,
Okay. So that was day 2. The first night I drank a lot of wine and cried with my girlfriends. Second night, I called all my healers and my coaches. I said, "I need help. I help." And my coach said, "The programmer of the program, he's programmed, doesn't thinks that you're going to be who you are, which is a woman of integrity and truth, and we keep our word, we take ownership. Like, that's who the programmer thinks you're going to be in response to all this. The programmer doesn't think you'll take ownership for everything."
mm,
I said, "Do you want me to take ownership for everything I didn't do?" He's like, "Yep, that'll crack the program."
Mhm.
So the last day we had lunch, and I said, "I don't remember everything that happened. It was quite an intense time." I said, "However, I take full ownership for everything I did that hurt you. And I'm
Mhm.
so deeply sorry." Makes me cry because I saw it's like a veil around his aura. I saw it crack, and I saw his shoulders go down. And he said, "Thanks, Mom." And I said, "And I want to say thank you for the bravery of telling me the truth. You could have just pushed this away. You could have just done fake.
Mhm.
Thank you for your truth." And then he said, he said, "Thanks, Mom. And can you also acknowledge me because I didn't yell once? Yelling at women stops with me."
wow. Ooh,
Oh.
chills.
Yeah, right. I said, "You're right. You're absolutely right. Thank you." And I
Mhm.
said, I, he heard he's a pitcher, but he broke his arm and it came back together. I said, "Just like your arm is stronger, the bones when they fuse back together after breaking are stronger than before. My commitment is that our relationship, we repair this rupture stronger than ever." And that's where things stand. We're just taking it call by call, and I'm learning how to be not a mother of a child, a partner of an adult, a mentor of an adult, how to get up under him, how to
Mhm.
just keep taking ownership of all these things that just make me want to crawl out of my skin, and
Mhm.
practice being the embodiment of unconditional love and letting go of needing to be right.
Mhm. Thank
Wow.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chills. And it makes me think about this piece that you speak to sometimes is intimacy,
Mm,
intimacy. And I'm curious on that inner work of how you work with, because my imagining is there are parts that get triggered. There is the hurt, and there's the part where I hear you go to your spiritual teachers and your coaches. But in the moment while that's happening, how do you hold those vulnerable parts of yourself when meeting your son like this with
yeah.
containment?
Thank you. I love this intimacy. Into me, I see. When I first started this work 20 years ago, when I looked inside, I was horrified There was all these insecure parts, people pleasers. You know, I did not like who I saw on the inside, which made me double down in my hypervigilance to be 3 steps ahead and make sure I was even shinier than that. And not 5 books, we're going to write 6, and we've got to go to an Ivy League school and all these things to try to run away from this insecure girl inside who didn't feel worthy, safe, good enough, all these things. So over time, I would say most recently in the last 5 or 6 years with a specific use of psychedelic medicine. I did like ayahuasca maybe 25 years ago, 20 years ago. But I would leave my body, have oneness with all, know that all is well, but it couldn't integrate any of it into my relationships. And one divorce led to another divorce, and I was still the only one in common. So it's a different use of psychedelic medicine, very low dose, where we stay in the body. It's one-on-one, blindfolded, and all we do is follow body sensation and emotions to support the autonomic nervous system from being hypervigilant, level 4 trauma, through level 3, real dark, hopeless, helpless, suicidal, to level 2, that's the intense 30 seconds, 60 seconds of like terror or self-hatred or devastation or absolute panic, like something very short, down to level 1 relief and back into 0 point, where all of the autonomic nervous system is calm, but there's wisdom there too. There's wisdom. It gets integrated from this pain or shame or anger or hopelessness into this real awareness, embodied awareness of why it went down for my soul's evolution, not against me. So that capacity to stay in my body and feel through intense emotions. One of my Allana Pratt method processes is called sitting in the fire, and it's titrating and helping people get used to staying in the body and being with the emotion, not trying to fix it, get rid of it, change it, but like you have a 4-year-old and there's a 4-year-old inside me, like being with our little one and breathing and feet on the ground and expansiveness and allowance over time. I've practiced this, which allows me, to the best of my ability, to stay in my body, keep my heart open to the most awful experiences, and they transmute. They will integrate, they will process. I know it as a fact. I hold space for and guide my clients, and I am the big you for the little you inside of me when these moments happen. And if they're so intense that I need help, I'm courageous and humble enough to ask for it.
Mm.
Mm, yeah. Beautiful. Where I'm curious where that relationship is to your son's father. So with all this inner work, with all of these reps of holding the big you, holding the little you, where's what's that experience? What's that relationship right now with his father?
I have no relationship with him. We haven't spoken since court over a decade ago. There were days where I would get my little voodoo doll out, and just tickle these. I was like, I was not happy with him. It was all his fault, all projection, all blame. But over time, with all the integrations, actually, one of my ayahuasca journeys, he came to me and he said, "Why did you leave me?" Which again cracked the blame and opened up the compassion. I've done so much work. I have one of my another one of my Allana Pratt method processes called the theater of redemption, where you first just unload what's held within you, very validated rage or anger or what have you, in a healthy way, in a process. And then the process moves into sitting down, and instead of seeing them as the perpetrator, seeing them as a ball of light, a sacred contract, which you bring into your hands and you hold. And you begin, instead of the beginning of the process, is how dare you? Just unload, unload, unload. The second part is thank you. And the word forgive is right in there. Thank you for giving me the experience of XYZ, because I've learned, grown, evolved. So I did a lot of that. I probably did that process 30 times till I really saw all the ways that I could grow. But you never really know you've integrated something until it happens again and you don't get triggered. And
Mm.
so, as I literally yesterday, day before yesterday, I was talking with my son, and he's doing the break away from the parent thing. Every child does this. I remember my mom threw my car keys out on the front lawn and locked the door and said, "Go sleep at your aunt's." Like there's a break from adult child to adult, right? So he's going through that with his dad. And as he was complaining, I noticed I didn't want to get in there and go, "Yeah, that's who he is." I really had compassion. I said, "I hear you. I hear you." I literally had compassion for where his dad is. His dad's been responsible for him, even though my point of view is I've been blocked. But regardless, he's been responsible for him for the last 6.5 years. And I had compassion for what that is as a single parent, what that must be like. And I didn't get triggered. And I really guided, I think, my son to see the dynamic and what could be resolved so they could just be love. They could just be
Mm.
buddies, just be buddies. So that's one piece where I'm like, wow, there's proof that I'm not getting triggered. And then the last piece, I also study these frequencies from this woman in Israel, and everything's in Hebrew translated. And
Mm.
she showed me the name for truth, the letters. They're all very stable letters, grounded letters. And then she showed me the word for lie. And it starts off really stable, but then the center of it tips over, and the last letter, like it could fall over with like that. And she said, "Allana, lies don't last. Truth always prevails. I sense your son's father is going to apologize to you." And I thought, what planet do you live on? That's
Mm.
crazy. But I felt into it, and I get light. I get a yes. Now, it could be on his deathbed. Who knows? But the bigger question was, could I receive an apology? Or was I still going to be righteous and superior? Could I be so generous and grateful for who I've become? Yeah, it's been hard slogging, but who I've become is because of our soul contract. And if he were to want to take ownership for his side of it, I would absolutely receive his apology to complete this karmic wheel that apparently we've been up to several lifetimes, and it's about time to end it.
Mm. When you feel into it, I'm just curious, because we have people that are in these tenuous experiences, right? It's so different if you're in a relationship where there's enough safety that you
Yeah.
can work through an ending, right? Like I went through a divorce, but there was enough safety that we could go through it together in a way. So there was enough
Right.
safety to
Yeah.
work through the feelings, right? That came up because of course there's like so many feelings that come up. And I'm curious if you look back, would there have been something you could have done in the ending to help it end in a more amicable way? Or did it feel like this was just how it was going to go?
Yeah.
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 It's no, when I look back, there was I don't know if you believe in past lives, but I do. And I feel because when we first met, it was this instant chemistry, not shared values and long-term
Uh-huh.
dating, right? It was very chemistry. It felt so familiar. And I was very aware of these behaviors that were quite explosive and angry and blamey, but I somehow saw them through the lens of, oh, he's all into justice and isn't he passionate? Like I made all these excuses for him. And then all his friends said, oh, he's so much nicer now that you're in his life. Well, it was like an energy vampire. And I was willing to be, sucked dry because I didn't have any confidence to be on my own. I was still had that people pleaser within me. So I feel it was very karmic, meant to grow me up, meant
Mhm.
to evolve him should he do his work. I don't think I could have done, I mean, obviously I could have behaved the maturity I am 20 years later back
Mhm.
then. But I don't, this sounds really crazy. I mean, I lost my house. I lost my savings. I went into $250,000 of debt. I let my son live with his dad and relinquish custody because to stop the fighting, like this has not been fun.
Mhm.
And then today I'm 56 and single. Like I have all these reasons why I would want to go back and change it, but I don't.
Mhm.
I have been so humbled and I've become so strong and so attached and so grateful to bring home all these parts of me that I hated, that I was in
Mhm.
resistance to, that I was separate from. Like I have become so much more whole by not needing to be right. to look good, to win, anything. In fact, be blamed for the whole friggin' thing all the way up until like a month ago. Not even. And I'm like, whoa, love is stronger than any of this. Wouldn't wish it on anyone. I wish
Mhm.
that the teachings, the blessings, the wisdom. Um, but maybe this is also an invitation. If you just let go of all resistance to what is, you're going to have to sit in a feeling that you probably don't want to feel. You're going to have to face and feel something that's going to be really, it's going to be a shadow. And what if that shadow is your path home to wholeness? Because it has been for me.
Yeah, well, what I love about what you're speaking to is it feels like sometimes relationship teaches us through the dance of the relationship in real time, right? Where we're working through stuff together.
Yeah.
And then sometimes relationship teaches us by how am I going to hold myself in this particular field?
Yeah.
And when that relationality is not available, I think a lot of people can experience this with parents, right? Where oh, that level of relationality of us working through this together might not be available.
Yeah.
How then am I going to hold myself and love myself in the fire of that? And so I love just feeling you holding, because I think that's where too, what I love what you're bringing is that can be where people can go into a real futility, right? Or, oh, there is no way to walk the path of love if the other person
Mm,
won't meet me somehow in
mm,
that, you know? And I really hear you finding that place of that relationality inside of yourself and with, yeah. I'm curious because I know you do talk a lot about this, about that self-love place, that place of coming into that own, yeah. And maybe you can tell us more about how you're living that now. I mean, I can hear it in your story with your son and stuff, but how you're living that now as you're in the dating world and you're exploring, finding the one, and also I hear being the one.
Mm.
mm. Yeah. That's one of my books is Finding the One is Bullshit. Becoming the One is brilliant and beautiful. Yeah. Um, I have this practice where I believe we can't give that which we aren't already embodied with, like a capacity. So I literally do blessings for my ex-husband. I hope I bless him with health and wealth and great relationships and all of it. And that was really, really hard in the beginning. Didn't want to do that at all. But I realized my withholding was also creating separation from self, and I was still attracting men that weren't emotionally available, or oh, I find out they're married, or these other things would happen, or they'd be really explosive. I'm like, okay, again, only one in common is me. Take full ownership. Where am I still? So if it's anger out there, where am I still angry at myself? If it's emotional unavailability out there, where am I still not willing to be with all my emotions in here? Where am I cheating on my values, ghosting my truth, this kind of idea, these behaviors out there? Just do my best to take such ownership so that everyone I've dated since then, since I was divorced, is a gift, is a mirror, is for me to go deeper and learn how to forgive. Oh, all the way back to my dad, forgive my ex-husband, forgive ex-boyfriends, forgive myself, forgive my hypervigilant masculine and my checked out, toxic feminine, whatever, like these, like, let's get my internal, oh, you might be toxic masculine inside of myself, freaking out over here, and she's checked out. Well, this isn't a great relationship. So let's bring these internal parts together. So many layers of work that I've done on the court of dating and inside my heart and with my coaches to find that communion and to do my best to raise up to fifth dimensional, where it's a win for me, it's a win for you, it's a win for all. And it's an honoring conscious masculine and feminine, and bringing all the wounded parts home that needed not my fixing, but my compassion to be more whole. So yeah, I'm really happy being my lover is the divine, I guess we'd call it. I still have my sacred practice, my dance practice, my self-pleasuring practice. Um, and or nature's my lover. So I don't wait to feel beautiful or juicy or alive or radiant. I go out a lot by myself. I go out to music festivals or restaurants or a brewery, and I'll bring a book. Like, I do my best not to huddle in. But there was a period where, as long as the house was on 20 acres, far away from everybody, I'll rent it. Like there were
Yeah,
years
totally.
I was so
I
scared.
understand that.
You understand the
Yeah.
15 acres and farthest road is, yeah. I did that for a good 5, 6 years. I was
Mhm.
still I still my nervous system still wasn't regulated. I was still scared. I was still going through a lot of my own psychedelic somatic integration work. And
Mhm.
I just I compared myself sometimes and I felt like a loser, but I was like, you know what? That's not going to get me anywhere. This is what you need right now. You need horses, land, space, tears. I remember one Mother's Day, I was in the closet with a candle propped up on a suitcase, looking at myself in the mirror with a box of tissue and a bottle of Prosecco. And I cried because I did the good thing. I said, Happy Mother's Day to everybody. And at that time, I think it was 5 Mother's Days I hadn't heard from him. And I just let myself be a mess, just
Mm.
sob. So there's been dark times. But again, every time I go into the dark, I sit in the fire, I face the quote unquote unfaceable every single time I get to the other side. There is no emotion I have ever met where it's done me in. And
Mhm.
it's compassion and tenderness and care. I've never been so kind and gentle to myself. So
Mm.
so that's where I am dating and I'm absolutely ready. And I've had to practice unattachment for 6.5 years till I saw my son. I can be unattached. Like whenever it's going to happen, if ever it's going to happen, maybe I'll be a cougar and have 3 young men. And I don't even know what does the divine want for me? I think an incredible partner to share my life with. And if there's another plan, I will do my best to surrender and follow.
Mhm.
Mm.
Beautiful.
I'm so curious on that and that deep, and I just want to honor you in that deep devotion to self and
Mm.
reconciling so many of these younger parts
Yeah.
that maybe didn't get that level of attunement and care and compassion and safety.
Yeah.
What is curious for me is with all of that work, learning all these deeper parts in self, what have you discovered in there, or have you discovered how to teach a partner? It sounds like men, or it could be, I'm not sure, but in another partner, what have you learned about yourself? And how will you teach another person to love you? And or are you waiting for someone to just offer the ingredients as you do the deeper work?
Mm, such a great question because I don't believe we ever quote unquote get perfect or get there
Yeah.
or you're in a relationship and no, everything's super. No, no, no. That's when shit really hits the fan. Like, because you're gonna bump up your wounds with each other. And I've practiced in a teacher training community for the last 2 years with one of my coaches, John Wineland and Kendra Kunoff. And everything is couples practice, feminine embodiment, masculine embodiment, sexual polarity, putting your hand up that you need it slower, asking for what you want, archetypes,
Mm.
like pushing my edges left, right, and center. And I've practiced recognizing, even with like practitioners who this is their job. Sometimes we close our heart, sometimes we get triggered, sometimes our little ones pipe up. And I can ask for what I need without attachment as an invitation and not a demand. And I can have the same asked of me and not get defensive and not shut down and not get holier than thou and not collapse. Like these are all practices. They're practices. And
Mhm.
we're not meant to
Mhm.
get them right. We're just meant to practice them. And yes, we'll get better at them, but we're not striving for perfection. So I'm
Mhm.
confident that as I go and as I've gone deeper with different gentlemen that I've dated, I'd say like the main thing is, oh, it starts off, you're a lot. You're a lot. And it's like a compliment. And then the day comes where you're too much. And
Mhm.
I've gotten so much better at like, well, fuck you, and I'm out of here. And I like, or I'll cry and see men are, and I go into this. I've gotten so I've had those moments. But now I'm just like, and what's that like? Like I get curious. I get curious. What's that like? And no judgment, but I'm not going to stop shining. I'm not going to stop being fully self-expressed in whatever that is, my joy, my eroticism, my sadness, whatever it is. My Could you hold me? I just feel like I want to curl up in the fetal position and not call you back, but I'm going to be brave. Would you just hold me? Well, you should be more confident. No,
Mm.
actually, I'm a mess. And if that's too much for you, that's okay. But I'm going to ask for what I need. So this ability to, in the face of the discomfort that my emotions make another person, doing my best not to judge them, ask for what I want, and also be an allowance. And this last gentleman that I dated, uh, he just says, I don't want to learn. I don't want to learn this. He was a little older than me. And, he's like, I'm good. I don't want, I thought I wanted this depth. I didn't understand what this depth actually took.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he'd pick me up from these, events, and I'd ask him these, "So, what is one way your heart needs to love fully before you die?" He's like, "I don't care." Like, I was so confronting for him. I'm good. And I'm like, "Well, I want to do this and experience that." Um, I'll just keep showing up until someone is just as voracious for intimacy and truth and depth and
Mhm.
aliveness, and also able to be with terror, fear, hopelessness, humanity, all the things. And if I exist, he's out there. That's just how I see it. Yeah.
Mhm.
What you shared really makes me think of, that stereotypical wounding, for the masculine, "Oh, I'm not enough," the biggest fear of or belief of "I'm not enough," and for the feminine, "Oh, I'm too much." So I can
Right.
hear this place of,
Mhm.
"Oh, no, here it
Mm.
is again. Like, this
Yes.
is you're too much, this is too much," and so there's that beautiful work inside of, "No, no, I'm gonna keep radiating and shining." I love that part. And
Mm.
what I'm curious, because you said at the very beginning,
Yes.
so your son's father,
Yeah.
angry man. That's
Yeah.
the title or the label that I hear, and I hear all these
Yeah.
other men that have come in of explosive or this, and there's all these qualities. What I'm hearing there, I would label as maybe avoidance or from your perspective of all these years of work, when you look at men, what
Yeah.
do you think is happening for men in relationship or proximity to what I would label as a really alive, vibrant, fierce feminine, like a woman
Mm.
who is doing her work, who's not going to take shit? What do you think is happening for men in their world in
Mm.
relationship to that?
So if I first map, this is such a beautiful question. If I first map it onto my clients, the gentlemen that want to do the deep inner work have a mother wound. Maybe mom died, mom made me wrong, whatever, mom avoided me, whatever that wound was. And there's something about, so yes, I'm very vivacious and radiant. And the other side, I believe I can be very tender, soft, patience of eternity, like the flavors of the feminine when I'm in my best aligned place. And that energy with those clients allow sometimes the projections to come up, or the avoidance and going away to come up, that the thing comes up. And because they're not my lover, they're my client, I'm in a really centered place, and I'm able to help transmute that, sometimes in a coaching session, sometimes with plant medicine, to give their nervous system a new experience of honor, respect. I'm not going anywhere. I believe in you. I can be quiet. I can leave. I can come back. I can hold you. What do you need? Right. So those have been just exquisite, exquisite. Now, when you move into the men that I date, then we've got my wounds being triggered at the same time as their wounds
Mhm.
are being triggered. So I don't get to be I'm the mentor space. So I'm a lot more wobbly. But one story I'm remembering, this gentleman, he bought me a Christmas present, and then it was tickets to a concert, and then he sold them, but he forgot that he'd gotten me them as a Christmas present. And I was really, really hurt. Um, and normally when he would do things and not remember things, I would go right into judgment. I would say, why? And he would take that as he's wrong. And he'd instantly get defensive. And I was recognizing why is not the effective way to ask why he did that, or to have understanding. Because deeper underneath that was, why aren't I important enough for you to remember? That was my wound, right? His behavior was just his behavior. So this one particular time, and that happened, I did what I never did. Normally I'd cry, run off, or get upset and ask why. I just sat in my shit. I just sat. I closed my eyes and I just said devastated. And I did what I do in a medicine journey, like just let my body bring me home. not try to force it, not try to overthink it. Just I surrendered in the moment, eyes closed, sitting with him. And I crumpled. I just said devastated and I started crying. And I didn't open my eyes, so he didn't feel anything coming at him. And then the next thing was like, oh, belief. I feel like I'm so unimportant. And then I integrated that. And then I'm like, oh, it was like awareness. You just forgot. I get it. I get it. And because that had been quite a trend in our 10-month relationship at that point, I go, and that doesn't work for me, that you'd forget something as important as my Christmas present. Um, and I forgive you. I forgive you. And everything softened. And that was the first time he was able to say, I'm sorry. And
Mhm.
it was a direct, I believe, response to my ownership. Here I was wanting him to own everything, but it was me owning my emotions that had to happen, that allowed there to be a safe space for him to apologize. The relationship didn't work out, but there was a great healing for both of us in that experience.
You're doing such a beautiful job of describing how the inner work then translates into the relational.
Yeah.
One of the things that yeah, one of the things that I am curious about is one of the things that Mike and I talk about a lot is about the we space and the shared relational space. And we've been really blessed to get to do, we had our own self-love journey before we met each other and did a lot of work and then met and learning how to do that work together in an ongoing way. And I found a partner who wanted to do the work.
Hey, so good.
Yeah, yeah, there's men are out there. Um, but one of the things that I notice is so tricky in this realm of self-love, because of course we work with couples and I find where people can get confused a bit is where they can almost take that and go too hyper independent. So
Mm,
it's like everything that happens in the relationship, if I just work with it in myself,
mm,
but what gets lost is the place of how do I now that bring that relationally? Or how do I maybe ask for my partner in that moment to meet me? Or is there a way for me to meet myself and invite my partner in? And that can kind of, when people go so far into the self-love, they can lose that place. And I'm curious if you can talk about that, of how you
yeah.
see that, how you help clients understand that line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this. And I'm so happy for the two of you that you found each other and you can just rub
Yeah.
off on it's all good.
Come in.
Um,
Come in.
um, I agree. So when hyper independent and not interdependent, I'm going to call it like a soulmate, where I was still in my wound, taking responsibility. He was in his wound, taking responsibility. The figure eight never happened. It
Yeah.
was more transactional, and there was like a lot of keeping score, and there was a lot of structure in how we need to have these like, conscious conversations, and, didn't work. I was shared this term, Dr. Mark Gaffney, Dr. Barbara Marks Hubbard, before she passed, they shared with me this concept of whole mate, where we're not perfect, but we're whole. So we've done enough independent work, but now we're interested in this figure eight between the two people, where each of you awaken dormant evolutionary qualities within the other, which then awakens the other, which then awakens the other. And it is not just the two of you. It's yes, it's good for self, it's good for the relationship, but it's good for humanity, it's good for the family, it's good for all. Like there's an overabundance of energy and radiance and love for humanity because of this whole mate relationship. So that made me go, aha, I understand what I've been doing. Okay, let's practice this. And then, of course, the universe gives me clients to practice with. Back when I was a new parent, everybody on my podcast was a parenting expert. Well, I guess Allana needs to learn a little about parenting. So I always know the universe will give me clients and guests of what I need to learn. So
Mhm.
I have this beautiful couple that I've been working with for quite a few years, and we were getting somewhere with each of them taking individual responsibility, and they would still do their dyads. So they had a really great container to build intimacy and communication where there's no, rebuttals or judgment or rolling of the eyes. Very sacred, very awesome. And this particular he had the issue was drinking, and it got to a place where he drank again. And this was the line, this was going to be the end, this was the agreement, all the stuff. And something shifted where I said, what is underneath you not sharing? That having a safe enough place to share what was going on before you took the drink. within yourself, yes, but within the relationship.
Mhm. Mhm.
And she was amazing. She's like, where am I not being safe enough for him to share this? Where am I not in my body? Where is something he's doing triggering me? And she's super smart. She's like an attorney. So she can, she has all the answers. Like she can say all the things. And he's like, oh, well, that's that. Okay. She won that argument. Right. So I could see 80%, 90%, they are doing so well individually and together. But here was the piece.
Mhm.
And she was doing the thing where, well, how am I going to trust you again? I go, let's just put that on the table over there and let's go under. And we found each of their core wounds from growing up. His mom was dying of cancer his whole upbringing. So he was never allowed to say anything because if he did, he got his mom upset and she was already sick, or got his dad upset. And so he just stuffed everything. So he had his core wound triggered. And same with her in her upbringing. It was a culture where the girls were not as important as the boys, and she was always trying to be as good as the boys and never could, so she would have to always prove and prove and justify and so I said, oh, look at these core wounds. They're perfectly matched. They're
Mhm.
perfectly matched. So what if the only thing we're going to work on, could we just put pause on whether you're going to get a divorce or not? Could we just give it a month of absolute truth, even truth that you're terrified to share, even truth that we might end up completing this relationship. But that last little bit, we're not going to withhold to each other ever again. And let's see what happens. And he needed a punching bag and a hug. That's what he said I need. And she was like, well, that's very violent. And he's like, I need it. I need a punching
Yeah.
bag and then I need a hug. So he asked for what he needed, and she needed to go, I'm really scared. And when you're like this, and I'm not in control, and I want to run for the hills, and I don't, and he goes, what do you need? She goes, I don't even know, but this is my truth. So they started having these incredible, honest, completely radical authenticity conversations. They used the same dyad format that they'd used so well, but they went deeper than ever. And they
Mhm.
are more at peace, more at ease. The energy in the house is calmer. There's more things being revealed. They have two teenage boys. They're now safer to talk to, you think, both of them. So they're having incredible conversations about sex and all these different things that they had not been able to move towards. So yeah, um, being able to
Yeah.
bring this relationship with self into the relationship with other is imperative, and
Mhm.
beautiful.
Mhm. Well, and thank you. What a beautiful answer. Well, and even what I'm feeling is as you're talking about this place you're in of dating, I have a question for you about this part is, where you talk about with non-attachment. And I think the word attachment is so interesting when you look at our physiology and then you look at spiritually, right? Because there's this interesting paradox in a relationship where we can be so unattached that then
Right,
we're not sending signals of
right.
actually, I do need you.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's actually the needing that lets the other person want to come
Mm,
closer,
mm,
you know? But then what I think I'm hearing you say is speaking to the part though of not controlling that, you
right,
know?
right.
So I'm just curious to hear more about that in your dance about it's like how to be attached and non-attached.
Yeah, yeah. How
Yeah.
to need but not be needy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I so get it. So I was very outside in. You need to be a certain way. I need to have the money, the house, the man, all the things on the outside so I could be safe on the inside. That's where I started this journey.
Uh,
And I still get triggered from time to time. But when I'm cultivating that safety from within, I can need, I can be vulnerable. I need you. But if I fall flat on my face or you drop me or you don't want to provide that, I got me. I got me. I still have my own back. So it's a dance. It's like jumping off a cliff into the unknown of like, I'm going to express my needs here and they may or may not get met, but I got some fucking wings here. I'll be fine. I'm like, I'm not going to go splat on the ground, or even if I go splat on the ground, I'll like put myself back together and away we go. Um, and knowing that in your bones, I
mhm,
believe allows us to be transparent and vulnerable and let go of control and really give them choice. really give them space and time and choice and not need them to be a certain way for us to be okay. And it's terrifying, I think. It's terrifying to jump off that cliff and ask for exactly what we want, parentally, monetarily, in sexually in the bedroom, a spiritual depth of connection or communication, like all these things that we ache for and yearn for, to then
Mm.
ask and to be vulnerable. Like, I want to know who I am in relate. Like, this is where I am today in my personal journey. I know who like a ceiling. I know who I am independent. I know who I am in relationship with the divine nature, all the things. I don't know who I am completely surrendered in a healthy way, expressing my needs, getting them met or not, and not leaving and having that reciprocated as well. I have no idea who I'll be to be supported and cared for. I was just saying to one of my clients the other day, uh, I'm very real in my calls with my clients. If I'm having a bad day, I go, need 5 minutes to just be real with you till I have any capacity to hear any of you. And I'll process right in front of them. And I said, I'm done with nobody knowing whether I got home tonight.
Mhm.
It'll be days, maybe only 24 if it's a weekday till my staff is like, she hasn't responded. She's probably dead. Like, but it could be if it was a weekend, who knows how long it would be until someone would discover I was dead. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't, I'm done. I want someone who cares.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I've been so terrified to open up to that because I've been so attacked for so long. But damn, I'm proud of myself that I've integrated enough to keep opening again and giving myself that gift
Mhm.
while simultaneously knowing that spirit cares. But I'm in a body on a planet and I'm having it in a relationship. Yeah.
Mhm. Yes, I love when you say that, I'm like,
It
yes, that's
feels
like that feminine that is clear. Yeah,
Yeah.
in the body, I felt you, yeah.
yeah,
Thank you.
that gives me chills. And what embodied work?
Mhm.
Because I wanna start off by just acknowledging I'm so sorry for all the places the masculine has hurt you and hasn't been able to hold space for your fullness, for your expression of how you're here to shine.
Mm.
And I can only imagine the hurt of all
Mhm.
of those waves. And what I feel you really, really living is, from some of our mentors, Dan Tatkin, Terry Real, there's this strong emphasis on relationship is the hardest thing we'll ever do. And
Yeah.
it's risky. Like
Mhm.
if we
Yeah.
want that juicy, sweet love, if we want the intimacy, it forces the into me I see that
Yes.
work, and it also forces I'm not going to stop reaching. I'm not going to stop acknowledging
Yeah.
and honoring and expressing and asking for these biological desires to be met,
Yes.
Mhm.
knowing that they might be rejected, knowing that it might not happen, but never giving up, like, not
Yeah.
allowing the collapse to take over and
Yeah.
choosing love, love, love again for self and also for the relationship, because what a gift I can imagine for the people that you serve on your calls, for the
Yeah.
people in your life, that
Yeah.
actually the men that you're dating, no, I need this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is what would feel good for me, because then we now offer over the opportunity for somebody on the other side to have the satisfaction of meeting the need. Because how good does
Yeah.
it feel? I think we all know that place. It
Yes.
feels good in the giving a gift and having it received, but
Yes.
how hard it is to ask for a gift to be received,
Yes.
how hard that work is. So thank you for doing that work.
Thank you.
Embodying that, yeah.
I'm a never giver upper.
Perseverance.
That's right.
We we should all we have a never giver upper club.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Get
awesome.
that.
Uh,
Going for it. Aw,
Eh,
thank you for sharing your wisdom. Yeah.
And I'm curious, there with the couples that you've supported over the years and the dynamics that you see,
Mhm.
where do you see people the most stuck? Like what's the thing that's preventing people or couples from going into the experience of intimacy on the felt sense in the body?
Mhm.
yeah. I'm just thinking through all of them. Have you ever read Gay Hendrix's The Big Leap? Did you ever read
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
So you
We
know
had
the
him on we had him on the podcast too,
Oh,
actually.
right.
good. Me too,
Yeah.
back when Kate was
Yeah.
Oh, did you? Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had a blessing of interviewing him and Katie and Ojai at their home, and they were such incredible. Like, to be in their field was,
Yeah.
such a gift. So you know the difference between excellence and genius. I would
Yeah.
say the block is they're comfortable in maybe it's maybe not quite excellence, maybe it's incompetence, but they could get up to excellence. But in order to pop into genius, they have to let go of that fear of like, what if I ask for this? What if I reveal this? What if I really um, invite this? Well, this could rock the whole boat, and I was going to give up excellent, so I'm just going to stay here. That's what I've seen across the board. And I'm going to be honest, most couples that I've worked with stop at excellent. We signed up for genius, we signed up for rapture, we signed up for deep intimacy, but when they started to do the work, I've really only had one or two couples that keep cracking open, keep going deeper, keep jumping off the cliff into the unknown of this is what my soul is literally aching for. And the other ones have stopped at, I'm not going to rock the boat. This is good enough. It's a hell of a lot better than where we started when we came to you at a 2. Now we're at a 7. This is good. Um, because the risk of going for it all the way could mean the relationship dies. But to me, it's like, yes, the old identity, the old relationship will die and a new one will be born. If you keep going, look how far you've come. Look at your soul's evolution. Look at, there's nothing but a trajectory of more, if you ask me, and I feel into it, but I'm not living it. And the risk of all of that has just been too great for the others.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah, beautiful. It makes me think of, Courtney and I, we've done the experiment of marriage before and it didn't work
Yes.
out. We've both been divorced. And in this relationship, we had to let go of, or I'll speak for myself, I had to let go of a certain worldview and adopt a new one. And one of the mantras that we live by and we teach couples that we support is this mantra of return to love.
Mhm.
So there's rupture and whoa, if I didn't have the mantra of return to love and I
Yeah.
let my nervous system drive the bus, my survival strategy would always choose to push her away. That was the
Yeah.
default. Very
Yeah.
avoidantly attached in certain places and be like, well, I feel better in my own energy, so bye.
Yeah.
Sounds like
Yeah.
a you problem. But the return to love did something interesting where it really brought us through the resistance of the nervous system and
Yeah.
orient to we will tend this we together.
Yeah.
It's the shared agreement of,
Mm.
hey, if we want to experience love and juiciness, we are going to have to learn how
Yes.
to contain the little part that really wants to make it about you did this or I
Yeah.
need that. And so what I'm curious about when you name the couple that you've seen who keep choosing the we,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
this would be the language we use, we call it the
Yeah.
sacred we.
The truth, not choosing the we in exchange for the truth.
Yeah.
Like choosing truth and the we.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not attached, yeah, to what that looks like, but just choosing to be in the practice of the we
Mhm.
Yeah.
and letting love prevail.
Yeah.
What do you see with the couple that do continue to do the work versus the couples where they lose it and or it falls apart? What do you think they're doing or believing or their world perspective that's leading to the perseverance and staying in the practice of love versus the couples who it's not working? What's the worldview that's different?
The world Well, I'll answer it this way. When I'm thinking of some other couples, one was willing to choose love and one wasn't. One was willing to do more of
Mhm.
the internal work, and the other one still wanted their addictions or their excuses or whatever. So it became an off balance thing. And the invitation of what this one required for this to be, I want us to choose we, they were probably accurate that this person wasn't willing to do that. And so the invitation would mean probably divorce.
Yes.
And then all of the unraveling of money and kids and all the rest of it. And they didn't want to do it. I really think that was the ultimate why. The couple that I'm thinking of that keeps choosing the sacred we, they're both in it. they're both never giver uppers. So the worldview is, I will never stop to be more of who I am. They have kids. They look into their kids' eyes every day. They look into their own eyes every day. They look into each other's eyes. Like they don't check out. Maybe for a minute, have a little, and then get back on the court again, right? They're human,
Yeah.
but they are always both taking responsibility for self, and they're both committed to growing old together. And they're both
Mhm.
unattached. Actually, they're both unattached, which is, or at least not willing to shrink to meet the other. So that level of, I'm willing to walk. I don't want to walk. I want to walk all the way to heaven with you. But so there's a, yeah, there's a vigor in each of them for their fullest soul's expression. Yeah.
Yeah, how I make sense of that part that you're describing is that place where I can feel that for Mike and I will hit these places where the alchemy is so big that I have to be willing to let
Mhm.
go completely
Yeah.
and not control it all and
Right.
feel that I'm totally fine in myself. And it's when I do that
Yes.
that then it's like, and then we land back
Yeah.
together. And it makes me think if you don't know, like you do have to build that muscle because the
Yeah.
we will take you into these places where there's so much alchemy that you got to be able to move through it without attachment in order
Yeah.
to really, yeah, yeah.
I love what you're saying. And it's just making me also think each of those people who, um, so actually they've all done plant medicine with me. And the ones who could surrender to the body's wisdom to bring you home, to the medicine, the divine, and the body, working this incredible alchemy all the way to 0 point. The ones who could do that the best is the couple that can be in this storm of what's going on and trust. No, our hearts are in the right place. Keep our hearts open. We know where we're going. We're just going to let go and
Yeah.
let the divine banks of the river guide them. With the other couples, the one who was growing more could surrender all the way. The other one who couldn't actually, even with the tool of plant medicine, still couldn't surrender to their own
Mhm.
feelings and got quite logged up in either self-hatred or hopelessness. They wouldn't choose to feel the feeling all the way through. They hadn't developed that yet. And isn't that, you're kind of giving me an insight right now that that is the microcosm of the macrocosm of their relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this, and I wanna add to this. This is so interesting when you say it,
Mm. Mm.
because I'd say I'm an anomaly to that, where I've used a lot of plant medicine, and there's been certain medicines that I can't let go.
Mhm.
And what's interesting is where I let go consistently is in our relationship,
Mhm.
Ah.
very consistently. But what's interesting, and I wanna name this because I think there's a few people that get stuck here that just it might be a few of us.
Mm.
But I was adopted twice in the first year of my life, separated from my mother, and
Yeah.
she was a drug addict. And what I've
Mm.
learned is if I have too big of a hit of information to try to integrate, my system biologically can't actually surrender. It's not just because my mind isn't strong enough. There's so much implicit memory flooding through the chemicals of my body that
Yeah.
it's actually too much terror to try to love to fully let love.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until I made a vow of no more medicine. I'm
Mm.
gonna let life be the medicine. There's
Mm.
enough pressure and tension. The relationship's the
Yes.
medicine.
Yes.
And
Yes.
being in life with an empowered woman who doesn't take shit. Like that is my medicine. And it was from the overwhelm of certain hits and experiences that led to, oh no, 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 this is the thing. And what's interesting, and it just feels important to name because it's led to the most emotional maturity of my life,
Mm.
choosing to boundary around that thing. Medicine has been such a gift in my life and such a revealer of sometimes somebody gets the message in one hit, and the rest of the life integration is now go bring that into the most meaningful relationships of your life. Are you
Yeah.
being more you? Can you
Yeah.
advocate for what you need? Are you learning to bring in regulation to the places that get dysregulated? And I
Yeah.
wanted to highlight because when you share that, I've noticed some people shame themselves
Mm.
that they go back into another medicine ceremony and it's not working and they're like having a hard time of they're not getting the key to
Mm.
the thing. And when I look back and reflect, a lot of it I've noticed is a lot of what we've talked about, where it's letting that inner integration of what is this in me that's getting poked and provoked? Can I meet it with love? Can I soften inside around the material, the charge of energy that's here?
Mhm.
It makes me think of your son. Whoa, went into that experience, bah,
Mm.
Yeah.
too much for him, not you're too much. Coach guides, hey, practice this.
Mm.
And there's such a beauty in what I'm hearing is being in the practice of the relational intimacy to be able to bring more self to the experience so that there's a going back and forth where there's a wanting to choose to lean back in. And I just wanted to highlight that piece for anyone.
Well, and can I just add a layer?
Yes, please.
Just, for Mike, he was needing to have a boundary to medicines because he was exposed to medicines when
While
while
developing.
in the womb, right? So, that
Yeah.
also is big healing, right?
Mhm.
To actually have a boundary to those substances.
Which is the point I wanted to make is the nuance part that goes subtly into, well, what's our unique imprint? Every single one of us has a different tattoo or branding of this is what our soul's here to learn about. And sometimes it's, yeah, just starting to let go. Sometimes it's learning what are the ingredients offered again and again and again and again to lead to a natural surrendering and letting go
Mhm.
Mm.
and getting curious of what that is what it brings
Yeah.
up for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I love this. Medicine is there's medicine, and there's relationship medicine,
Yeah.
there's custody battle medicine, there's
Yeah.
parenthood medicine, there's divorce medicine. Um,
Yeah.
and there is the misuse of medicine. There's the addiction to medicine. So I don't think medicine's the right or wrong, but just the idea of, can we honor what we need to transmute, to evolve? And can we trust
Mhm.
that? Can we honor ourselves and really see all of it as the pressure against the diamond to help us shine?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, the pressure, I love that.
Mhm.
Mm.
Surrendering to the pressure.
Yeah, because there's
Mhm.
going to be pressure, and it's for us, even though it's not comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
beautiful.
Mhm.
Mhm.
There any last questions you wanna ask?
Yeah, I think that it feels. I like the feeling this. I mean, there was one little. This is just not really even maybe one to answer, but it's just one to like. Maybe you have an answer, but this is something that we're in the ongoing exploration of. Is in this place where there's one person who wants to keep evolving, and there's another person who doesn't. One of the ways we're learning to look at this is that there's some sort of relational ingredient that the other person might be needing in order to wanna move, but that
Mm.
sometimes the dynamic that in itself can become a dynamic, right? Like, I'm the one that wants to move forward, I'm the one that wants to, and you're the one that doesn't want to, and obviously that can totally happen. And I'm interested to hear how you navigate this place, because I've been surprised in working with couples where I perceive it that way, and then as we start to get curious about what the relational ingredient might be for the one who's maybe more stuck,
Yeah. Yeah.
in that shared nervous system, I've been in shock actually of how much that person that I would have perceived is stuck and they're deciding not to grow, starts to grow. And I don't that's why I don't know the answer. It's
Mm.
just something I'm living into and curious about.
Mm.
But
Mm.
I'm just curious if you have any insights about this place.
The only insight that comes to mind right now is a couple I worked with, and I'll call him very masculine, yes, but very driven. And the hit would come with the accomplishment, with the achievement, with the drive, and it served him very well. Except when it came to the relationship, she felt he was so much farther ahead and evolving faster. She'd get very triggered on the calls, not be as articulate, couldn't put the words together. So I'd give her, patience. She could go, last, she doesn't have to go at all. And praise whatever she would say to give her more confidence. But and it's just what you said in the couple, it started to create this competition or animosity or separation. And we found the peace in him that was terrified to slow down and just be.
Mhm.
And we found
Yeah.
the peace in her that was terrified to go outside her comfort zone.
Yeah.
And there was an alignment there and a reconnection and a compassion and an understanding that was actually each of their own individual evolution, but it evolved the relationship. It got a lot softer and a lot more connected. So I
Mhm.
think before calling it a day, to recognize, is my desire for growth pure? Is it a
Mhm.
resistance to them or a judgment of them? Or is it
Mm,
my shtick? And there's actually another part of me that's actually, I would grow more if I could learn to let go of the accomplishments and be fulfilled with what is and
mm,
slow down and be in the discomfort. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
lots of,
that's yeah. And of course there also is like my first partner, we were together for 10 years, we were married, and the reason we separated, we actually were relating quite well, but it was, I wanted to grow and evolve and had this voracious like I just want to get to know all of and he was like, I want to drink a beer on the weekend and I want to play video games on a, he's like, I don't want to do that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it was so good when we got to the point of health that we could just be clear in that together and then decide to end.
right.
But the part of me that doubted, when I look back and I see where the kind of life he's living, that is the life he's living, right? And I
Right,
would
right,
not have been happy there. That was
right.
not what and just celebrating myself for that choosing and knowing that. And sometimes it's just that inner knowing that just
Yeah.
knows. Yeah.
Yeah. We all
Yeah.
have the way we want to do life, and it's all beautiful. But to find a
Mhm.
partner that wants to pretty much hang out the way you like to
Mhm.
hang out, grow
Yeah.
the way you like to
Yeah.
grow, gets
Yeah.
turned on by what you get turned on by, value what you value,
Yeah.
and then bless and release all the other teachers on our path. Yeah.
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah.
I'd love to ask you a question here before we close, and then to connect, to the audience of how people can follow your work.
Mm,
When you follow this pathway of into me I see
mm,
in your journey of intimacy, when you tune in with everything that you now know with all of your personal work, and let's say you were to meet the next guy, what would
mm.
be the number one thing you would tell them, teaching them how to love you with everything that you've discovered from deep within the core? What's the way to love Allana that you've discovered?
Such a great question. I think I would ask him to be in allowance. You don't have to like it, prefer it, choose it. Um, but what I will promise is truth. I will
Mm,
promise truth of expression. So can you be an allowance of all of this? And
Mm,
my commitment would be to give the same. And it feels like it'll take care of itself if there's no resistance and there's allowance and curiosity of who each other's evolving into. And for me, that would be just delicious to have
mm,
someone who, like, I have this dream that I want to get. I flamenco dance now, but I used to pole dance. And I would love a pole and I'd love to express. I'm such a talker. I talk all day. I'm interviewing and I'm talking. I want to express in my body how my day went. And just because it's a pole doesn't mean I'm going to do like bound chicka bound bound. Like maybe I'm going to swirl on the pole and end up in your lap for a fetal position cry. Or maybe I'm going to get really pissed and I don't want to scare you, but I need to get this through me and I put on the heavy metal. Um, that kind of, can you be an allowance of the energy that pours through me? Can you just be the consciousness, be the presence, and not
mhm,
need me to change for you to be okay? And it's okay to say, whoa, I need a timeout. Like, you get to be human. But could that be a practice?
mhm,
Because then I could have the practice of being fully self-expressed and I don't know who she is in there. And I
mhm,
want to get to know her and
mm.
give that love and radiance and purity to you.
mm.
Oh, chills. Thank you for answering that. And
Mm.
what a pleasure. Thank you for coming and sharing your story, your
Mhm.
medicine with our audience. And if people want to go deeper with you, how can they find you?
My name, Allana Pratt, allanapratt.com. Everything is there. It connects you to the YouTube channel, to Instagram, to the Intimate World, which is my Patreon channel. There's all sorts of different books and my podcast, Intimate Conversations. So lots of ways to get to know me. And I would be delighted to see you in my calendar. Yeah.
And that I'm just gonna say it's Alana spelled with 2 L's, right? 2 L's?
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
ALLANAPRATT.com. All is
Yeah.
well. We are all one. Yeah.
Mhm. Beautiful. Thank you
Yeah.
for this beautiful transmission of I feel this really strong transmission of the power of self-love in the relational. Just really feeling you embodying that so powerfully.
Thank you so much. This has been a complete treat. You're both so alive, radiant, and so grounded and beautiful.
Mm,
Thank you for having me.
Thank
thanks.
you. That's a gift. And thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed this, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things, helps this podcast reach more people. And let us know what got poked and provoked listening to this conversation, your ahas. We read all the comments, and we'd love to see you there. Till next time,